Hey everyone, and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner, where I share with you some of the meals that I've made throughout the week. If you're new here, my name is Stephanie and welcome. I am so happy that you could join us. Today I have some super easy and family-friendly recipes for you that I'm sure your whole family is going to love. So without further ado, let's kick off the week with a delicious Sloppy Joe tater tot casserole. Alright, so for this recipe you're going to need 1 pound of ground beef, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard, half a teaspoon of garlic powder. You're also going to need a pepper. I'm using a red one because that's what I had on hand. You're also going to need an onion, 1.5 tablespoon of brown sugar, 1 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, a half a cup of ketchup, 1 bag of tater tots, 1 8-ounce bag of shredded cheddar cheese, and then 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. So the first thing I'm going to do is preheat my oven at 450 degrees, and then I'm going to go ahead and chop my pepper and my onion. Now for the onion, I cut my onions in very small pieces just because my kids don't really like onions, and I find if I chop it down in very small pieces, they tend to not notice it. So just a tip, if you guys have kids who are picky like mine and don't like onions, then this trick might just work for you as well. When cutting my peppers, I just like to cut off the top part and then the center just comes right off. I know there's a lot of different ways to cut a pepper. Let me know in the comments down below how you like to cut yours. So now in a large non-stick skillet, I'm going to cook the ground beef until it's about halfway cooked through, and then I'm gonna add the peppers and the onions. Gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper. Give it a good mix. And then I'm going to add in my veggies and cook this until the ground beef is cooked all the way through and that the veggies are soft. So now the ground beef is cooked, so I'm just going to go ahead and drain all of the fat, and then I'm going to add in the rest of the ingredients except for the cheese and tater tots, and I'm going to bring this to a simmer and let it simmer for about 3 to 5 minutes. So here I was a little bit distracted by my kids and I completely forgot to add in 3 of the ingredients, so that's why you're going to see me add them a little bit later, but normally you would add them all at the same time. So here you see me adding the Dijon mustard, the Worcestershire sauce, and the garlic powder. Alright, so everything looks good, so now I'm going to remove this from the heat. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab a 9 by 13 inch baking dish, and I'm gonna spread this mixture in the bottom of the dish. And then I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of the cheese on top of the Sloppy Joe mixture. And then I'm gonna add a layer of tater tots. Now I'm using about 2/3 of a bag, but you can go ahead and use the entire bag if you want. Then I'm just going to sprinkle the rest of the cheese on top. And I'm going to bake this in the oven for about 25 minutes or until the tater tots are golden brown. So this is what it looks like once it's out of the oven. This was so good, you guys. This casserole is delicious and it's easy to make. I just love the sweetness that you get from the Sloppy Joe mixture, and also the crunchiness from the tater tots is just really good. My family loved it, and what I like about this is that the casserole can also be frozen. You can just add it in the freezer before baking, and on the day you're ready to serve, just pop it in the oven and you're ready to go. So definitely a great recipe. I'm glad I found this one, and it's definitely a new family favorite. Next up are these amazing baked coconut chicken tenders. So I was trying to find a healthier version of chicken tenders, and this is it. These are baked, not fried. They're full of healthy fats and packed with flavor. They're also kid-friendly and they are so good. So here's what you're going to need. 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breasts cut into 1-inch wide strips. 1 large egg, 2/3 of a cup of unsweetened coconut flakes, 1/4 cup of flour, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of salt, black pepper to taste, and some cooking spray. So I'm using this cooking spray because that was the only one they had in the store for some reason, but normally I'd use the olive oil cooking spray. So I'm going to start by preheating my oven at 425 degrees. Then in a bowl, I'm going to whisk my egg, and this is going to be my egg wash. And for the coating, in a separate container or plate, I'm going to add the coconut flakes, the flour, the garlic powder, and the salt and pepper. And I'm just going to mix this well with a fork. So now I've lined my baking sheet with parchment paper, and I'm going to grab my chicken tenders and dip both sides in the egg wash and then coat them with the coconut mixture. And you want to make sure to coat these very well on both sides. Then I'm going to transfer them on the baking dish and repeat the process. Now I have more than 1.5 pounds of chicken here, so I did end up making a second batch of mixture, and I think I used 3 eggs total. If you do make a bigger batch and you know you won't be eating all of them, what's great about these is that they can be frozen. All you do is place them uncooked on a baking dish and then put them in the freezer. Once frozen, just transfer them into a Ziploc bag. So once I'm done coating my chicken, I'm going to spray them with the cooking spray. Now this part is important because this is what will allow the chicken fingers to become crispy in the oven. So I'm going to bake these in the oven for 25 minutes or until golden brown. And I did end up flipping mine halfway through. Now while the chicken is cooking, I'm going to make a dipping sauce. This dipping sauce was so good. I'll have the link to this recipe in the description box down below for you guys. So in a bowl, you're going to mix half a cup of mayonnaise, 1 tablespoon of yellow mustard, 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard, 2 tablespoons of barbecue sauce, and 2.5 tablespoons of honey. Mix it all up and that's it. Super simple. And this sauce is perfect for dipping chicken. It is so good. And then as a side, I'm just going to make this quick Uncle Ben rice that I had in my pantry, and I'm also going to be steaming up some broccoli. Now these were so good. I'll have to admit that I was a little bit skeptical of adding coconut to chicken, but it turned out great. They taste really good together. It has the perfect amount of sweetness to them, and it's not overpowering at all. They are easy to make, and I love that they are baked, not fried, and still come out crispy. So I'm definitely going to be making these again, and probably as a freezer meal next time. The last recipe I'll be sharing with you this week is pizza casserole. Now this was definitely my favorite recipe of the week. This is actually my mother's recipe. She made this when I was a kid, and now I make it for my family. It's definitely a family-pleasing meal, and it's super easy to make. Now, for some reason, I've lost the footage where I show you the ingredients, so instead I'm just gonna have all of the ingredients listed here on the screen, so you guys can go ahead and take a screenshot or a picture if you want. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is cut your onion and your pepper, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick right now. Then you're gonna preheat your oven at 350, and then you're gonna get started on your ground beef. So I'm going to cook my ground beef until it's about halfway through, and then I'll add in the onions and the peppers. So I'm just going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. And while the ground beef is cooking, I'm going to go ahead and get started on my egg noodles. So in a pot of boiling water, I'm just going to add in the noodles. Now you want to make sure not to overcook these because they will be going in the oven. Alright, so my ground beef is halfway cooked, so now I'm going to add in the diced onions and peppers and just give it a good stir. So now I'm going to cook this until the ground beef is cooked all the way through and that the onions and peppers are soft. Alright, so my noodles are cooked, so now I'm just going to go strain the noodles, and then I'm going to add in all of the ingredients in the same pot. So I'm going to start off by adding my cooked ground beef with the onions and peppers. And then I'm going to add in my pepperoni and salami. Now for the pepperoni and salami, I buy the pepperoni and salami sticks, and I like mine pretty chunky, so I cut them in bite-sized pieces, but you can cut them however big you prefer. If you like them smaller, you can cut them smaller. If you like them bigger, then go ahead and cut them bigger. What I like about this recipe is that you can change it to your liking. So now I'm just adding in the pizza sauce and the spaghetti sauce. Now, I like to add in Italian seasoning. I just really like the taste of it, but that's completely optional. It's not even part of my mom's recipe. It's just something that I like to add. So if you guys like Italian seasoning, you can go ahead and add some if you want. Just add some to taste, or you can add other spices if you want. Add whatever you like. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and mix it all up. You wanna mix it very well. All right, so now I'm gonna transfer this into a baking dish. So I'm using a 9x13 baking dish. And one thing about this recipe is that it makes a ton. So you will definitely get leftovers. If you want, this recipe can also be frozen, which is what I like about it. So you can also portion these into smaller portions and then put them in the freezer uncooked, and then you'll have some quick freezer meals ready to go for next time. So as you can see, because it's such a big quantity, I wasn't able to add it all in there at the same time. I had to put some of it in there and then just flatten it out before adding the rest, or else it would have just made a big mess. And now I'm just gonna sprinkle the mozzarella cheese on top. Again, you can use whatever type of cheese you prefer. You can put as much as you want. Alright, so now I'm going to bake this in the oven for about 30 to 45 minutes, and I'll see you again once it's done. So here it is. I decided to have this with a side of avocado, and like I said, this is definitely a family favorite, and what I love about it is that you can add anything you want to it, and it's perfect for a weeknight meal. So I hope you guys enjoyed the meals I had to share with you this week. Please let me know in the comments down below which one was your favorite. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in my next one. Bye guys.